Who do you think you are? That's an important question I feel like all of us should ask. To pull that apart, I'll be using the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z. The Ginyu Force is a mercenary group that was hired by Frieza to do his bidding. He needed to get to the Dragon Balls. Krillin, Vegeta, and Gohan were in the way. So he hired them. The Ginyu Force are two things. They're dangerous and they're hilarious. They're dangerous because they actually do bodily harm to people. And they're also hilarious because they're a parody. They're a parody of costume heroes from like shows like Power Rangers and stuff like that, where they do these ridiculous poses and they'll on their head see all of this like Sailor Moon type stuff going on. But in reality, they're just muscle bound guys that are like posing in these weird formations. But to get back to the question, who did they think they are? Did they see themselves as the hero of this story? It's easy to kind of jump to that place because, you know, there's a version of this where Frieza would look like a good guy. He's the emperor of the universe, and oftentimes we ignore the atrocities of world leaders and stuff unless they're not our world leader. Like, so you're working for him. He's paying you well. These guys are in the way. They're going against the emperor. We got to stop them. Period. Bang. Done. But as the story went along, you realized they were doing terrible things. And you wondered, like, did they ever consider, like, I'm doing something horrible? Well, clearly they weren't. They were mercenaries. But do you ever ask yourself, am I wrong? And not to say, like, in your belief, your faith, as far as, like, being a believer, Christian, what have you, a follower of Yeshua, right, Jesus. But more so questioning how you handle things. Because I know that God is very concerned about how we handle our lives, how we handle the people in our lives, how we handle strangers, right? Love your neighbor as yourself, how we handle our spouses, love your wife like Christ loves the church, how we handle our children, how we handle other believers, right? But I've noticed, and just over the years and some of my interactions with other Christians, that some of them just assume that they're right even when they're doing the worst things. And that turns people off so much. Like, over the years, I've even asked a lot of non-believers, like, why do you not like that? And usually 90% of the time, it's about the people. It's about the people. They had an uncle that was a Christian and he thought he was better than everybody, or like an aunt that was a Christian that was hyper judgmental or attacked her and like, or they called themselves Christians but they did ... And by the end of the story, it was like, yo, they was wilding. Now, granted, some things the world just don't understand, but some things is just flagrant, and you know they flagrant when you're doing them, or at least you should. But it's this delusion that some of these people hold. If you were to really ask them about their behavior, they start throwing around scriptures that have nothing to do with anything. And those are their justifications for their behavior. And that's not what the scriptures call you to do at all. If you ask or just look up even some of the accusations at times that people will bring to you about you gossiping, or how hateful you might handle things, or how mean or prideful you are about certain things, or whatever, you'll find that there's scriptures challenging you to be better, New and Old Testament. Do you realize how scary it would be if you lived your entire life wrong, but claiming God's name the whole time to do it, hurting people and all those things, and you argued using out of context verses and scriptures and chapters and stories to explain away your behavior, and then once the end time comes and you're ultimately judged, God is pointing that out and he says, depart from me, I never knew you. That is the scariest scripture to me, is that the Christian that has taken their time, that has said, and like he said in that text, like, I've cast out demons in your name, I've won souls, we could keep paraphrasing, I rapped, I did poetry, I preached sermons, I sang, I wrote some of the greatest songs that people have ever worshiped too. And he says, depart from me, you who practice lawlessness, I never knew you. There is going to reach a time where all of us face a God that we claim, that we rep, And we're going to have to give an account. And to be real, none of us have arrived. The scriptures call us to crucify ourselves daily. And I'm just coming along today to ask you, have you crucified yourself today? Who do you think you are? Have you prayed for wisdom and discernment? And if you have, what has he shown you? Has your conversion caused you to treat people better or worse? And can you give an account for who you are when you leave church?